Yo, what up, guys? This is your boy here, Judah. You giving you another video for you guys. This is going to be the top 8 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh rivals in my personal opinion. Once again, this is not a list facing the characters off against each other, which character is the best based on backstory or deck, or it's none of that. It's a personal list of mine, so it's very subjective. It's all about what I liked, which characters I liked, which characters I resonated more with. So this isn't a list comparing the characters. This is just a list talking about the characters I love and why I love them. So, just keep that in mind while you're watching the video. Also, I'd like to share that this is going to be a very long video. As you guys can probably see, it's like a 45 minute video. It's pretty long. So, you don't really need to watch it because, I mean, there are visuals in here, but the visuals aren't important. Really, what you're coming here for is to hear me out, hear what I have to say and stuff. So, just sit back and relax, draw, do whatever, just binge listen to this. You don't even have to really watch the video itself. Just listen to it. Just like when you listen to the podcast that I do with Dylan or whatever, just listen to it, and enjoy. It's going to be a fun ride, and I'm really excited for this. So I hope you guys enjoy the Yu-Gi-Oh! Top 8 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivals. Okay, so number 8 on our list on the top 8 rivals is going to be Seto Kaiba. Yeah, I know that Seto Kaiba is kind of a character that a lot of people love, obviously. He's the first rival ever. There's a lot of nostalgia behind him and a lot of love for him. He just has that funny personality, especially if you watch the dubbed version where, he's very arrogant and, he thinks he's the best and everybody's below him and all that stuff. And he's just very powerful, very aggressive, and all that stuff. And he doesn't have any friends, and he's just a businessman, and he does what he needs to do, and all that stuff. That's a part of his core. And I do love Kaiba a lot, and just because he's last doesn't mean I don't love him. Obviously, it's just that the characters above this list are actually some that I like a lot more for other personal reasons. But Kaiba is a character I do love and I do enjoy him, and there are certain attributes I really love about him. But right now I'll talk about the attributes I don't really like about him, which are, some of those attributes I just spoke about. The fact that he's completely arrogant, he doesn't seem to recognize other people's strength. He thinks that he's above everyone else and that everybody's below him, and I just personally don't really like that. I don't actually, I like it because it's funny and whatever, but like ultimately in the end, if he had development where he eventually overcame those flaws, so to speak, then I could grow to love him more, because like he just doesn't respect other duelists, and I don't like that trait about him. Like he doesn't respect Joey Wheeler, even though he's proven himself many times to be capable, and he doesn't respect many other duelists other than Atem himself, because that's been his rival throughout the series. And but as a character himself, I do love him and I do enjoy him. I just wish he had a little bit more to him near the end. I wish he got that development because he was very stubborn, unwilling to accept his ancient past and all that stuff. He wanted to bury his past. And although I liked seeing that stuff, to see the psychology in his head and how he thinks and how he feels about his past, present, and future, I like that stuff. I like how he thinks about it, and it's interesting, and it's he's a very unique character in that sense. But still, though, I kind of would prefer if by the end, obviously I don't mind him being the way he is. It's just by the end I was hoping he would be able to turn around and be able to kind of accept more people in his life, or at least learn to respect the people that he's facing a little bit more, and that would have made me love him so much more as a character. But regardless, to point out a lot of the good attributes about him, I love him as a duelist. I think he's a fantastic duelist. I'll probably do a video at some point in the future talking specifically about Seto Kaiba and why I think he's one of the best duelists, and I'll get to that at some other point. But I think he's just an amazing duelist, and in each duel he always brought Yugi or Atem technically to his knees, and he was in a tight corner and he could barely come out, and he came out of those situations through mostly plot armor and whatnot. For the most part, he just was able to always provide an epic and legendary legendary rivalry, and it was the most iconic rivalry, seeing that battle. And we always remember the Battle City finals match between him and Yugi, that 6 episode long duel that was an intense strategy based duel, and it was just fantastic. It was amazing, and I still remember that. It's still one of the best around, in all the Yu-Gi-Oh series, because that's how great that duel was, and it was because of that intense rivalry and his desire and passion to want to defeat Atem and become better than him, so that way he could bury his past and a bunch of other stuff. He's a very complex character, I'll give him that, but ultimately, I just wish that he could have just gotten over a couple of his flaws near the end. It just would have made me love him as a character even more so. But he's still awesome. He's still tough, as you can see in the image here on the screen. Look at that! Look at that! Really sick, amazing pose. And I mean, he's just an awesome character. But yeah, that's besides the point. So that's my number 8 pick, Seto Kaiba. We'll move on to number 7 now. Okay, so number 7 on our list is actually Marufuji Ryo, otherwise known as Kaiser in the show. Kaiser, I believe, means perfect in Japanese, and that's exactly what he is. He's the top duelist in Duel Academy. He's an amazing duelist with a cool machine deck, a Cyber Dragon deck. Everybody loves Cyber Dragons because it just looks so sick and amazing. The Cyber Dragon concept. It's just cool. Everybody loves Cyber Dragons, and Zane was just a powerful duelist. He always exemplified what power is. He just summoned his 4,000 beat Cyber and Dragon and Power Bond going up to 8,000, limiter removal going up to 6. That's what he is as a duelist. He's just power, power, power. It's hard to get over that much power, and then his ace also pierces and stuff like that. So he was just this perfect character. Everybody loved Zane. He was always the best. People strive to look up to him and this and that. And to be honest, I don't consider Zane Truesdale or Marufuji Ryo, or I'll just call him Kaiser for this video. I don't consider Kaiser a full-on rival of Judai, but at the same time, I kind of do, in a way, because like they did have kind of like a little rivalry going on, with their first duel and then their second duel. I really wish they had a third duel to kind of even things out, because the second duel ended in a draw. But even so, like it wasn't that strong of a rivalry, which is why he's kind of lower. And also, his character, it's kind of a little bit stale, and that gets a little complicated a little later on. We'll get to that part. But overall, Kaiser, he's just a powerful duelist, very skilled, obviously, a really cool deck, and people just love him. And he's has a very serious persona, but overall seems very humble about it. He doesn't seem to brag about his skills like Kaiba or anything like that. He just owns confidence, I suppose, is one way to look at it. He just owns it. And then his character goes into a bit of a turn where he suddenly loses a duel to a pro duelist known as Edo Phoenix, and then he has trouble dealing with the loss, and then he becomes Hell Kaiser. He goes through a couple underground duels, and through there, he goes through this epiphany, or something like that, where he just realizes that he can no longer have respect for his opponents anymore, because it's holding him back as a duelist, and he's not able to be at his fullest, be at his best potential, because he's always concerned about respecting his opponents and making sure that they're not, I guess, hurt or, just, so apparently he's so strong, but he holds back a lot of his strength. And through that Edo duel, it really messed with his head, and he wasn't able to get back up from that for whatever reason. He was really depressed that he lost one time to him, and Edo made a fool out of him in their match. He really did, and made him look like a fool, like he wasn't anywhere near as tough as he thought he was, or that anyone thought. And he actually lost a duel to Edo because of that. But after that, he just became this almost cold and heartless person, where all he cared about was power, and more importantly, victory. The only reason why he dueled other opponents was specifically just so he could win. And everything was about winning for him. That's the only thing that mattered. If he wasn't winning, like it's kind of like he wasn't really worth anything. And it was weird to see such a noble character, who started off to be a very humble and respectful character, or duelist, to many around Duel Academy, just this pinnacle of a great duelist, and humble guy, and then all of a sudden he just turns completely dark. I mean, it's just wild to see how that happened, and it was just cool. His development was kind of odd, near the end. Like, season 3, he started having heart problems and he was close to dying and having a heart attack to die, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, it was kind of strange, it was like he was just hurt, and apparently we find out later, like, his deck was kind of hurting him, sort of. No, actually, no, all the underground duels he was having him was hurting him because he had like a bunch of machines attached to him while he was dueling certain people, and then he would take shocks to his system in order to, feel the pain while dueling, and it was kind of a really psycho type of thing. But he was feeling the pain while dueling and stuff like that. But anyway, that eventually messed with his heart, and he was just a different guy after that. He really was. His final duel with Johan or Yubel was fantastic, as he just wanted one final duel to feel, to duel the best, to try to see if he could win and obtain victory, I guess, in a sense. But really, just to have one final all-out duel, where he meets his biggest challenge, and that was the end. But I guess the only reason why he's lower is because I'm not fully in love with Zayn, and his development to Hell Kaiser was kind of strange. I mean, he only lost once, and he took it like a little too rough and kind of went too far to the dark side for something so small, considering how humble he was. But that's because he always won. So now we got to see him lose, and that really changed things. But he's still a cool character. I still love him. I still love all the rivals. But he's number 7 on the list right now. Okay, so number 6 on our list is actually going to be Manjoume Jun, or otherwise known as Chaz Princeton from the dub, or Manjoume Thunder as his nickname in the Japanese version. And yeah, he is number 6 right now. And why does he surpass Seto Kaiba and Ryo Marufuji? Simply, it was just because I just personally liked Chaz as a character more. I thought he was more fun. I thought he was kind of different. He wasn't just, I mean, he was in the beginning just very straightforward, I hate the main character type of thing. I want to be the best. Everybody's below me. He was like that also. But then he went through, after he lost to Judai, he had to face the embarrassment of losing to a Slifer Red Slacker, and he was an Obelisk Blue. He was a top student, and he lost to, a low-ranked duelist, so to speak, and, that really messed with him, and he lost in a public way in front of everybody, and he was ashamed that people were ridiculing him for losing and this and that. So he just kind of like couldn't take it anymore, and he just abandoned Duel Academy, and he went off on, I guess, his own journey or whatever. He ended up finding himself in North Academy, a different Duel Academy, by accident or whatever. And then he went through some really weird development after that, because he ended up finding, I guess, Ojama Yellow there. He became the top duelist at North Academy, defeating everybody. Nobody was compared to him. He built a new deck from scratch. He was going around North Academy looking for random cards he could find, because he no longer had his deck anymore. And he had to build his own deck from scratch from random cards he found. And he did, and he built this deck, and he was able to defeat the entire school with random cards that he picked off the floor, which is possible, as we know. Characters like Yusei Fudo, Jack Atlas, and stuff like that, like that's how they built their decks, with random cards that people just throw away and stuff. And so it's not completely unlikely that a duelist can't come up with a really good deck just from garbage, so to speak. And he wrecked, and he got some really broken cards too that he found in these icebergs, and had some really weird development. Like I said, he eventually came back, re-challenged Judai. It was a really awesome rematch, and obviously he lost that, but he still stuck around, and Judai kind of protected him against his brothers. We found out about his characters and the pressure that he gets from his brothers to own up to the family name and all this and that, and and Chaz wants to do it his own way and stuff like that. I might be messing up a couple things here and there, because it's been a while since I've watched his origin story, but I liked his character. I liked his backstory. I understand why he is the way he is. And but then after that, after he lost to Judai the second time, he started like mellowing down, and once he met the Ojamas, he like mellowed out too. He became a bit of a comic relief character in a way, but yeah, I liked it because it made him diverse. It made him a different type of character, other than just the straightforward, aggressive, oh I hate everybody type of attitude. It was more like he actually like had a goofy personality, and and he eventually ended up respecting weaker cards. He had to build a deck of weak cards to fight against his brothers because of the restrictions they put on the duel, and he ended up winning with the Ojama brothers and a couple other low-level monsters, and he ended up having respect for, like I said, low-level monsters. And now his deck, he runs Ojamas, he runs the XYZ Union monsters, he runs the Ojamas, and just random stuff, stuff you really don't think would work, but in a weird way kind of does. And yeah, so that's Manjoume's character, and I just liked it. I love the black outfit. I think it just looks amazing for him, and it just looks fantastic. I like that he came to Slifer Red, and then he started from the bottom, but then like he kind of just stayed there. Like I don't think he ever went back to blue. Did he? No, actually, eventually he did go back to blue. But like he stayed there for a while, and this and that. But he ended up respecting Jaden eventually, and everybody else, and became friends with Asuka and even Sho. And I just love the relationship that he eventually had with these people, and they all became pretty good friends. Even picking on each other and stuff like that. And that's what I love about GS. There was a lot of character moments, where they're just interacting and learning to get used to each other. Stuff I like that stuff. Anyway, that's Chaz Princeton. That's my number 6 pick, and that's why I like Chaz Princeton. All right, moving on. Okay, next up on our list is a very fun character that I personally enjoyed a lot. A very fun rival, or at least I consider him a rival. So the person on this list that's number 5 is actually going to be Shingo Sawatari from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. Now, some might say that he's not technically a rival. Some might say that he is. In my personal opinion, I consider him a rival. You got to consider that the way the Arc 5 story was written, there was no quote unquote identified rival, just because there was so much going on with the plot. The plot was very important from very early on in the series, so it's hard to really determine who the rival is. Yes, I think Akaba Reiji is the main rival, but some people don't think that he's the rival. Some people think Sawatari is, and they both are rivals in their own way, and they're all right. But because of the story and the way things were developing, the rivalry wasn't the center focus of the show, or even a big, or even a small center focus. It was just like there as a side thing. There was so much going on in the plot that it wasn't that important. But anyway, back to Sawatari. I love Sawatari. I love his personality. I just ended up loving him so much. He's so goofy. He's so silly. He's so hyperactive. And even here I have written down super ultra hyper strong duelist Neo Sawatari. It's such a long and unnecessary name, but it's just funny. Like me and my friends, we all like him because he's just such a funny guy. He has a lot of personality, and he's just kind of goofy and this and that. But he is a strong duelist. Don't get me wrong. And he started off just like all the other rivals, just being kind of this jerk character, and kind of pushing around the main character. He was following Reiji's orders and stuff. But eventually, after I like the development that he had, because after he lost to Yuya, he grew bitter against him, but at the same time he fell in he subconsciously started falling in love with entertainment style dueling. And he was whenever he dueled, he would start like saying ladies and gentlemen and all the quotes that you used to do, and kind of do it in a performance style where he's kind of like doing a show, and that duel he had with Yuya is like implanted in his head. And eventually at some point he ended up loving and respecting Yuya and as an entertainer, and he became an entertainer himself. And then he had that amazing duel in the Miami Championship where he faced Yuya, and that's one of the best duels in all of Arc 5, just one of the most entertaining ones in terms of action duels and just everything. A lot of people love that duel. It was fantastic, and that's a duel where Sawatari was in, because he was the main rival in that. And he could have very easily defeated Yuya. Obviously Yuya's the better entertainer, I guess, so to speak, but he's the main character, so he's gonna have to win. But like he could have could have wiped the floor with Yuya as well. You know, he had a very powerful Yosenju deck at that time. He's one of those characters that swap decks a lot. You know, he had the random Darks deck, then he had Monarchs for one episode when he dueled against Yuto. Then he had other Yosenjus that he got from Reiji temporarily just to test them out. And then eventually he ended up getting Abyss Actors, which is the perfect archetype for him because it's an entertainment deck. It really shows his development. Like, this is what he loves. This is what he wants to do. He wants to entertain people. He wants to put on a show, just like Yuya. Like, he fell in love with that style. I don't know why, but that really resonates with me. That a character like him, how he started off, just ended up turning, because most characters don't. Most characters, you know, kind of don't turn into the main character in a way. You get it? Like, they'll stay kind of in a jerkish personality. They'll still keep their personality, but like but they won't like completely turn. They won't be like goofing around and stuff. But like, he will. Like, he actually turned around. He turned goofy. He became entertaining and stuff like that. And yeah, eventually he just became more of a side character that people just made a fool of. He was used as a jobber, which is a term, whatever. It's a wrestling term, but essentially, you know, whenever there's a new villain or whatever, he's put in there just so he could lose. And unfortunately, they wasted his potential, and they wasted his deck too, because the Abyss Actors are a very powerful archetype, and it could have been utilized so much better, to be honest. And being that it's a pure Pendulum deck, and it's a part of the main story, the Pendulum thing, they could have used his character a lot more. That's why he is not higher on this list, but I do love him. Love his personality, very similar to Chaz Princeton in a way, but at the same time, he's just his own, and I just love him. But yeah, so that's Sawatari Shingo. He's my number 5 pick, and now to number 4. Okay, so number 4 on our list is the Duel King himself, Jack Atlas. Yes, we have Jack Atlas here. He's number 4. Right here, we're in the top 4 section. Right here, this is where it really starts to get interesting, because these are the rivals and characters that I really love the most, very much so. And Jack is one of them. He's so cool. He's interesting. I really love his story, his development throughout 5Ds. I really enjoyed him a lot. I liked his personality. He started off just like everyone else, being a jerk character. That's kind of a staple for every rival. He has to be a jerk in the beginning at some point. But you know, we get to some development later on after he loses to Yusei, and you know, whatever. I guess he comes to terms with what he did to him, stealing Stardust Dragon, stealing his motorcycle, hurting his friends, abandoning his friends, and you know, going to become a champion. And you know, he feels guilty for what he did, and then eventually, whatever, Carly helped him out and stuff like that. I just like that development. I love the backstory between him and Yusei. They used to be real best friends in the satellite, in the slums. You know, they were essentially in the streets, you know, the roughest parts, you know, and so to speak. And they were boys, and they were friends, and they were friends with Crow and all that stuff. And I don't know, it was just really cool, a backstory. You know, it was very nice to see that kind of thing. Like, he doesn't hate Yusei in any way. He does respect him and considers him his rival and stuff like that. And you know, back then Jack was able to defeat Yusei, but now he became so good he can. He just tries so hard to defeat him, and his whole purpose is just, you know, well, not his whole purpose. Obviously, his purpose is to become dual champion and prove in his own skills that he's able to surpass anyone and become the Dual King. But the only one he's not able to defeat is Yusei, and that's his drive. He will lose to no one until he defeats Yusei, which we all know Yusei, he's probably never going to lose. So this is a journey that may never end. But I would really hope that one day he's able to defeat Yusei, because he deserves it. He trained for years, and Yusei's just been there, you know, working on his, you know, his Yusei gear and all that stuff, and Neo Domino City. Like, he hasn't been practicing, at least not that we know of. But Jack has been training for years, battling people left and right, defeating everyone. He deserved that victory, in my personal opinion, and he deserves it a lot more so. And I love him as a character too, because he's not just this serious character. He's actually quite goofy. There's moments in 5Ds and some of these slice of life filler episodes, so to speak, where he's just, you know, goofing off, just chilling, you know, with Crow and Yusei, you know, in the basement or whatever, in the garage or whatever it is. And there's, you know, I like the little quirks that he has. Sometimes he'll dress up and act all fancy, and you know, he'll goof around. You know, it's just weird. You wouldn't expect that from Jack Atlas with the type of character he is, but he does do that, and he loves like cup noodle soup, I believe, ramen and whatnot, and like there was this episode with him and Jaeger, and they both loved cup noodle soup, and he was like crying because like, oh, they both love it so much, and it was just so goofy and weird. And the episode where he was out getting a job and he kept getting rejected, I forgot why. I think it's because like he was doing it his way and not the way he's supposed to, and you know he wasn't listening, so they kicked him out all the time and fired him and whatnot. And it's just these funny random moments you don't expect from a character like Jack, and that's why I love him, because he's a great duelist. He has a very intimidating presence. I love his voice. He has a cold deck, and he just has a side of him that you don't expect, and that's what I really love about Jack as well. It's just he's a great character. He's a great rival. I love his development. I love who he is. He's just fantastic, and that's why he's number 4. Okay, so number 3, we got here my boy Kaito Tenjo from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zale series. One of my favorite series of all times, by the way. And I absolutely love this guy. He is fantastic. This is the one thing I admire about Zale most is all the character development that a lot of characters got. Like, it was a show where they really put in a lot of focus into each individual character and just like went off with it, and you felt so much emotion and really connected with these characters and understood their reasons for what they did, what they're doing, and how they feel. And it was just so intense. It was such a fun ride watching it. And Kaito Tenjo is that. He is a powerful rival, just like everyone else. I repeat again, starts off as a jerk, practically a villain, to be quite honest, because he's going around capturing numbers and taking people's souls and this and that. Obviously, we find out later he doesn't want to take people's souls, but that's just kind of like the price you have to pay when you take a number from somebody. It's like taking a part of their soul or something like that, and then it drains their life energy, and they're essentially almost kind of dead in a way, or just completely almost lifeless, or whatever the case may be. But he doesn't want to do it. He's doing it for his brother, and that's what I love about Kaito. He's kind of, I always, as soon as I saw him, I was like, yo, he's like Seto Kaiba in terms of like, the brotherly love, so to speak. But only except this is Seto Kaiba done right and done perfectly, because we got to see, the same type of character Seto Kaiba, in the sense that, he's doing everything for his brother, but much better, because he shows it better, he expresses it better. We get to see moments with him and his brother, and back when things used to be normal, and then him talking to his brother all sweet and kind, and the beautiful Haruto theme in the background. It sounds like bedtime or whatever. Like, I really love it, and you just felt his deep connection for his brother, and wanting to do nothing but to protect him, and he's willing to do anything it takes to protect him, even so to speak, kill people if he has to, which he did. He was forced to kill people, but he still did it, and he had to do it because he wanted to save his brother at all costs, and he was willing to follow orders and do what he had to do to achieve, saving his brother and healing him from all the pain and suffering that he's going through. And he's Haruto's no longer the same. I just love that, and I love the development that he had with Yuma. He absolutely didn't like Yuma at first or anything like that. He respected Astro more than Yuma, obviously, but eventually through time, Yuma got to him too, like he does for many other characters, and he ended up, really respecting Yuma as a duelist and as a person and as a friend. He eventually accepted him as a friend near the end of the first half of Zale, and then they had that great duel at the end, and he felt like giving up, and then Yuma gave him like a speech where I forgot what it was about, but he gave him a speech that gave him motivation to continue on, and it was just great. He's just a fantastic character. During the second half of Zale, he didn't have as much of a purpose. His purpose was more just to fight off against Misael, because they're both Galaxy Eyes users, and then he was also behind the scenes looking up information, I guess, on the Barians and the Numeron code, and so he was doing stuff behind the scenes to move the plot along as well. but overall he didn't have as main a role. But they still gave him a main role because in the first half it was all about saving his brother. That was his goal, his incentive. But they still found a way to keep him around and doing stuff during the second half. And he's just fantastic. I love him. Amazing character development. He ended up eventually, like I said, appreciating Yuma, even appreciating Shark and this is spoilers here, obviously, during the end, during his death scene, before he dies, he thinks back and says to Mazar all the friends that he had, and he even included Shark in there as one of his friends, and all the people that he met, and everything. It was such a beautiful death scene. It was done so beautifully. It was so sad, and just to see the heartbreak on Yuma's eyes when Kaito died, and it was intense. And just I love the final words that he said to Yuma, because Yuma's like, oh, we still need to do it one more time, don't go and this and that, and Kaito's just like, well, I guess we'll just have to have that rivalry another time, which is just like bittersweet. Obviously he's dying right now and he's going to die, so it's just like, it's just a shame. And just he's just such a fantastic character. I genuinely love Kaito Tenjo. He is so amazing, and it was hard to put. The top three was hard to pick because it's like these are three of my favorite rivals, and it's hard to decide which goes above the other. I had to really think hard about it, but yeah. So anyway, that's number 3, Kaito Tenjo. Amazing character, fantastic. Definitely recommend you guys to watch Zeo, even if it's just for him. He's amazing. And yeah, so anyway, let's move on to number 2. Okay, so now we are here at the finale, the final 2 rivals, the last 2, and this was absolutely difficult for me, to be quite honest, because I had to really decide which of these 2 was my number 1, and that was hard because I love these last 2 characters so freaking much. You have no idea how much I love these characters. Like they are just amazing. Either way, whichever one goes first, they're both my favorite, but regardless, it was so difficult to decide this, but ultimately I found a way to decide it, and I'll get to my reasons now. But number 2 on my list is Akaba Reiji. Yes, surprisingly, he's not number 1. He was real close to being number 1, actually. Like I said, it was a back and forth battle between me and Reiji. Well, between Reiji and the final character. As you guys probably already know by process of elimination who was last, but we'll get to that when we get to that. For now, Reiji, I love Reiji. I thought he was so cool, so sick, and he was incredibly intelligent, a powerful duelist, master of all 3 summoning conditions, fusion, synchro, Xyz. He even created his own pendulum monsters once he found out about it from Yuya, and he was just able to do so much. He's an absolute genius. He just knows what he's doing, and I love it. He's always 2 steps ahead of everyone else, always planning something ahead, always knows what's going to happen less, always preparing something in case if something goes wrong. And he's just amazing, a complete genius and expert at just about everything he's done. He's a prodigy, and he's only 16 years old. He may not look like he's 16. He looks like he's in his 20s, or maybe in his 20s. Screw that. He looks like he's in his 20s based on his facial features. He looks like a grown man, but he's 16 years old. He's very young. Anyway, but that's besides the point. I love it. I love his deck. I love how he duels. He's so strategic. He does so much. He's like a competitive duelist. He spams the board with so many monsters. Fusion summoning, synchro summoning, Xyz summoning, pendulum summoning. Like, he just does everything. His deck can do everything. It's so incredibly powerful. I've dueled with it in real life, his character deck, and it is absolutely powerful. And I just love him so much too because of, in the story it's very different to other rivals. Well, actually, Jack also played a very important role in the overall story, obviously, and Kaito as well. But like Reiji, he was in charge of everything. He moved the plot along. He was always there planning ahead of time, even before we knew what he was up to, before we knew about the war and everything that happened, in because of Academia and in Heartland and all that stuff. Before all that, he was planning everything, preparing everything, setting it up, and I just loved, him setting up that tournament to gather up the strongest duelists so he could build these lancers, the lance defense soldiers and whatnot, and to fight off against this dimensional war and all this stuff. And he's going against his father, stopping him from his insanity and what he's doing and abandoning his family and this and that. I just love that. I thought it was fantastic. You know, he was a leader. He was on top of everything. He came in with such an intimidating and authoritative, I guess, presence whenever he walked into the room. You were glued to the screen when he came into the duel. You wanted to watch more, you wanted to learn more. His actions were so interesting. All the things he said, he didn't say much, he wasn't there in every single episode, but he was there and he was unique and he was interesting, and you just wanted to know more and learn more and understand his motives, how he thinks, why he thinks that way. It's just like, God, he's such an interesting character. He's the highlight of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 for a lot of shows, for a lot of people, just like Sean and Yudo and stuff like that and other characters. But he's just fantastic. He's the pinnacle of, what you should reach for as a duelist. Just like absolutely broken by all compares, broken. Like, he's more broken than the majority of the rivals because his deck is just that ridiculously broken. But yeah, I just love him. I love that stuff. There's a lot more, little things here and there. But this video is running kind of long. But Reiji's awesome, and he's number 2 for me. But anyway, we got to move on to number 1. And surprisingly, I know you guys didn't see this coming, most likely. Alright, so as you guys can figure out through process of elimination, my number 1 pick is KAMISHIRO Ryoga. That's right, Shark himself is my number 1 pick. And this was hard to decide on between, like I said, Reiji and Shark, because I love those characters so much and they're just fantastic. And there are reasons, very important reasons, why Shark is number 1 for me. And that's because I genuinely just love his story, his development throughout Zale, and everything he went through. I felt so emotionally connected towards this character. Just seeing everything he has to go through. I mean, this dude practically lived 3 different lives. We'll get to that. But, like, he's just amazing. I love the development between him and Yuma in the beginning. He started off like everybody else. I'm going to repeat myself. He was a jerk. He took his key, Yuma's key, and smashed it in half and threw it or whatever. Like, it was crazy, and he was just great. I love seeing his backstory, as a human and whatnot, because he had a rough time. His parents died. His parents died. He only had his sister, and then his sister got hurt, as we find out later. It wasn't 4, it was really Tron who ended up hurting his sister. She was in the hospital, so he was just in a very dark time in his life, and he eventually joined the gang and this and that, and then Yuma had to go in there and fight for him and not protect him because he can protect himself, but more like show him that I guess he cares about him, and that he believes in him, and that he doesn't see him as a cheater, because at one point he joined this tournament and he was known for cheating, even though he wasn't cheating, and that 4 was setting him up and all that stuff. And the rivalry between him and 4 was amazing and all that stuff. It was fantastic, and I just loved that stuff, all the, everything he went through, and his bond with Yuma, and how that grew, and eventually he came to actually like love and respect Yuma as a friend, and then eventually he would do anything for him. Yuma was always there for him, and therefore Shark just like completely ended up really trusting Yuya, and he knew that he was there for him. I just love that kind of development. He actually grew as a character. He became more warm-hearted, but not like, he didn't change his core character. He's still kind of quiet and whatnot, and but he smiles from time to time, and he enjoys talking to Yuma and stuff like that. And I just loved it. It was fantastic. After a while, he kept fighting for Yuma. He wanted revenge against the Barians during the second half because of what happened to the, I guess, 4, as well as obviously it's all connected. The story of Zale is all connected. So like, all that stuff happened with Tron was because of the Barians' power that influenced Tron and stuff like that, and Dr. Faker, and all the struggle was all because of the Barians, and it was just fantastic. So he had a grudge against them, and he wanted, I guess, revenge against these Barians for everything that they did and whatnot. And I might be butchering it, like I said, it's been a while since I watched different parts of it, but like, that's more or less how it goes. And anyway, so during the second half of Zale, we find out about the Barian emperors, and that there's a king missing and a queen missing, and eventually we find out that he's actually the king of the Barians, the leader of the Barians in a past life. He actually, well, he actually never died, but like his sister died in a past life, and all his soldiers and everybody, his whole kingdom, they all died because of Vector, and he was in so much distress and pain from literally losing everybody that's close to him, his whole family, his whole life, and then he was in so much distress, and obviously this was all work of the 1000. He kind of he didn't manipulate Shark into joining the Barians. He willingly chose because that's where all of his friends were. So he figured, all right, well that's where my friends are. So it's kind of like going to heaven or hell or whatever. That's where they are. So that's where you go. And he went over there to be with them, and he got reincarnated as a Barian emperor and whatnot, and he became obviously the leader because he willingly chose the power of chaos, willingly chose to go to that side and this and that. But anyway, Shark as a human, he actually like had a hard time accepting this because he got bonds and friendships with all these people, Kaito, Yuma, and Katsuri, all of them. Like he likes all of them, and he has a new life now. And now that he's getting these memories of his past, of everything that he lost, and his past life as both a Barian and as a human in his past life, he went through so much pain, and now he can't deny who he is and what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to protect the Barian world. He's supposed to destroy the astral world. He was conflicted, and he had to tear apart all the bonds that he had with Yuma and everything that he's made, and tear it apart to go with his original family and protect them. And he had to do it. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to actually betray Yuma and the others. It wasn't his intention, but the feelings that he had towards losing all his soldiers and everything from the past, it was so intense for him. He just couldn't refuse that. What? This is who I was, though. This was my real life before then, and I can't deny who I am. I am a Barian, whether I like it or not. This is who I am. This is what I'm born to be. I have a Barian form and everything. Like, this is me. This is who I am. I have to fight for my fellow Barians, for the lives that are lost and everything. I have to do it. So he ended up turning to the dark side, so to speak. And he had to tear apart. He had to do a 4 again and kill him off. He had to kill a bunch of other people off, and it was just sad. He had to do a bunch of stuff he didn't want to do, but he had to do. This was destiny. This was fate. This is what he had to do. He's the king of the Barons. He's their leader. He has to protect his kind. He has to protect his world. He has to do all that. He was just a fantastically written rival. Like, everything about this guy. His past life, his present life, his Barian life. Everything about him. He's the most thoroughly well thought out character out there, in my personal opinion. Like, everybody is, I just really resonated with his character and his story and his development. He's a great dude. It's fantastic. Once he became NASH, he was absolutely amazing, and he just wrecked life. And obviously Yuma defeated him at the end, sort of. It was a weird ending, but it was fantastic. Shark is an amazing character. That's why he's number 1. He's my number 1 favorite rival, second to Akaba Reiji. Unfortunately, sorry Reiji, but it is what it is. I love Shark. He's just a fantastic character, and that's why he is number 1 on my list. Alright guys, so that's the video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It was a lot of fun talking about the rival characters. I actually went a lot longer than I did with the protagonist list, mainly because that video was a little bit more scripted. I wanted to get all my points down. Also, there's more rivals than there are protagonists, so I had a lot to say about these characters and stuff like that, and I do genuinely love all of these characters a lot, even if they did make it to the bottom of the list. So keep that in mind. I love all of them, so don't come at me for that. Like, it's everybody has their personal favorites, whether they are good or not. That's all objective, but this is a subjective list. It's about my personal feelings, and I just had a lot of fun pouring my soul out into what I enjoy about all these characters, and I just had a blast, and I hope you guys had a blast too. Write down in the comment section below which are your favorite rivals and why. Just have a fun time down there in the comment section. Once again, respect each other's opinions, because we all have personal favorites. We all are attached to certain characters, and don't disrespect someone for liking a character that it's not your personal favorite. Just keep it to yourself, bring positive energy. You know, if you want to debate, you can debate, but do it in a respectful way. But yeah, just I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching again. God bless you guys. Thank you guys for everything. Gotcha.